Michael, it's good to have you back. Thank you. Good morning, friends. Let's begin by taking a few breaths together collectively. So first, just exhale, let it all out, and take a deep breath in. And then let it go. Another deep breath in, and let it go. One more deep breath. Breathe in, and let go. So this month we've been exploring this theme, practice makes imperfect, or what we've been calling perfectly imperfect. And I don't even know if that's what I'm talking about today, but that's been our month's theme. I was having this thought earlier that, many years ago, probably around the age of 12 or so, I had a kind of big spiritual experience where I realized that ministry, that spiritual teaching was my calling. And my whole life has been this sort of movement in that direction. And multiple times in my life, I've tried to walk away from that path. And then Spirit tends to whack me back onto it. And I've realized at some point that it's a choice that's not a choice, right? That there's a something that's been calling me my whole life. There's a something that I know that I'm here to do. And the journey towards that for each one of us, whatever the who is that you came here to be, the intention that you seek to live by, right? The journey towards that is a labyrinth, right? Have you ever walked a labyrinth? Right? So one of my favorite things about walking a labyrinth is there's this point where you're in the practice and you're walking all these loops and turns around the thing, and there's this part of me that's like in the practice, oh, I'm so spiritual. And then there's this other part of me that's like, am I at the center yet? Like, are we there yet? And there's this point in the labyrinth where you think you're almost done. You're like 2/3 of the way through, and you think you're right at the center. And then the next turn takes you all the way like over here, right? And isn't that the spiritual journey, right? And we talk here in this place about a vision of a world that works for everyone, right? In Centers for Spiritual Living, this is like our high and holy vision of what we're here to do, to build a world that works. And it's a labyrinthine path, right? Every time we think we're approaching the center, doesn't it seem like we get swung off somewhere completely different? And I realize more and more and more that our practice, the spiritual truth that we're here to become, to seek, to express, it is the very truth of our existence. It is the very truth of us, right? But we're constantly fighting it. Because the pain, the illusion, the war, the reality, all of it is so convincing. Right? And what we teach here is that what we place our attention on, what we give our consciousness to, is what we get more of. Right? And so we live in this time of what feels like a lot of pain and separation in the world. And my job is to get up here every week, week after week, and tell you that it's all one. That it's all love, that that's what's going to heal it all. And tell you all, it's hard. It's a hard road to walk. And I want to read you something in a moment from Ernest Holmes, the founder of our philosophy of science of mind. And to me, it's a deep reminder of the kind of conviction that we need to believe in order to be a people who will ever see something different if we want to see what's out there change. Right? And so I'm going to read you something from Ernest Holmes from his what's often referred to as the Sermon by the Sea, which he gave down at Asilomar probably about 100 years ago at this point. This is the thing I was going to tell you before this. I've known for much of my life that I wanted to be a minister. And also for much of my life, I felt like I didn't fit anywhere. I licensed as a minister in 2020. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged in the right place at the right time. And I watched so many of my teachers and mentors, as that year unrolled, go, I got nothing to say. And it found it was my time to step forward, right? And it took me 7.5 years to get through a 3-year master's program to get licensed as a minister, right? And there's been multiple of those twists and turns where always I thought like I wasn't on time, like I was always behind schedule, like I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And all of that lagging and all of that going the wrong direction landed me right in the right moment at the right time. Right? That there's some sort of deeper thing at work in all of our lives, in the world. And even when we think we're going the wrong direction, maybe it's because we're being held in a moment so that we can wait for the right moment to arrive. And we all have this idea of where we think we're supposed to be and when we're supposed to get there. And there's something else at work here. So I want to read you these words from Ernest Holmes and just take these in, and then we're going to talk about them for a few minutes. He says, "It would be wonderful indeed if a group of persons should arrive on earth who were for something and against nothing. This would be the summum bonum of human organization, wouldn't it? Find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of their soul, and I will find another Savior, another Jesus, another exalted being. Find me one person who no longer has any fear of the universe or of God or of man or of anything else, and you will have brought me someone in whose presence we may sit, and fear shall vanish as clouds before the sunlight. Find me someone who has given all that they have to love without morbidity, and I will have found the lover of my soul. Why? Because they will have revealed to me the nature of God and proved to me the possibility of all human souls. Find me one person who can get their own littleness out of the way, and they shall reveal to me the immeasurable magnitude of the universe in which I live. Find me one person who knows how to talk to God, really, and I shall walk with them through the woods, and everything that seems inanimate will respond. The leaves and trees will clap their hands, the grass will grow soft under them. Find me one person who communes with cause and effect, and in the evening star will sing to them, and the darkness will turn to light. Through them, as the woman who touched the hem of the garment of Christ was healed, shall I be healed of all loneliness forever. Find me someone who is no longer sad, whose memory has been redeemed from morbidity, and I shall hear laughter. Find me someone whose song is really celestial, because it is the outburst of the cosmic urge to sing, and I shall hear the music of the spheres. Find me one person who has so completely divorced themselves of all arrogance, and you will have discovered for me an open pathway to the kingdom of God here and now. Find me somebody who has detached their emotional and physiological ego from the real self, without having to deny the place it plays in the scheme of things, and without slaying any part of themselves, because the transcendence is there also. And I will have discovered the ineffable in this individual, and a direct pathway to the communion of my soul. In this same talk, he then goes on to say, find me 1,000 people who truly believe this and live it, and I will show you a world free of discord, free of pain, that is healed and whole. There's 8 billion of us on the planet at the moment, and we still haven't realized the dream. Right? He says, show me 1,000 people who actually believe this. Here's the thing. We often sit here in agreement that it's all one thing, that underneath the illusion of reality there is a deeper oneness that is living in all of us. But do we actually walk it? Do we live it everywhere we go? Right? Because there's a spiritual conviction that is being called from us by the world right now. Everything that is coming our way, whether it's individually in any of our lives or our bodies, or whether it's coming to the body of our collective consciousness or our nation or our world, everything that is here for us as an invitation to look for, to become, to activate something more. And it all depends on where we place our attention and how we hold what we see. Right? Because, for example, if you focus on who you don't want for president, I don't want that guy to be my president. And you keep thinking that thought, and you watch everything they say, and you pick it apart, and you don't want that party to be in office because this is what they're going to bring forward. Who and what are you focused on? Who are you giving your attention to? What story are you perpetuating? Whether you like the story or not, what story are you perpetuating when you keep talking about what that guy's doing that you don't want? Right? And it's important for us to be aware of what's going on because it gives us the contrast. It activates the invitation. It tells us what to pay attention to. But do you give the attention of your consciousness more to telling the story of the kind of world you want to live in, of what it's going to take for us to get there, of what we have to do to activate that possibility? I think most of us spend most of our time talking about what it is that we do not want to see. We give it all of our attention, and then we can't figure out why it keeps showing up. So how do we hold this spiritual paradox of looking at what is, and then having the conviction that Ernest Holmes was talking about? Give me one person who can see the truth beyond the illusion. Give me one person who's able to see health where there is sickness, to see peace where there is war, to see love where there is hate. Right? Each one of our consciousness can be the choice point where something new emerges, where a new story is being told. But it has to be a cultivated awareness. Right? We spend a lot of time not on purpose thinking and paying attention to a lot of stuff. We have to bring our attention into a purposeful awareness. Right? One of the things Ernest Holmes says in this reading is, show me someone who so deeply understands the law of cause and effect. Right? It's one of the things he said. The universe is a cause and effect generating machine. Right? Everything we experience has a cause and an effect. Right? The thing is the world that we are living in is so incredibly complexicated that, right, when I stub my toe and then it hurts, the cause and effect is really easy to see. I hit my toe, now it hurts, cause, effect. But when the cause and effect are a generation apart, do we see what's at work? Right? When the cause and effect is something that happened to us earlier in our life has an effect on us later in our life, right? Whether the food we eat or the exercise that we choose to do or not do, right? We can eat whatever we want every day and day in, but over the course of years, the cause and effect will have an effect on our health, right? Do we make the connection when the cause and effect are not so immediate? Because there is a law of cause and effect that is at work in the world. And there are lots of causes that have been unfolding for years, for decades, or for generations that those of us who are living in the planet and in this country right now are at the effect of. But we have to remember that all of those causes were thoughts, were consciousness, were choices, were actions that were taken by other people, that we can then become the new causes for new effects. Right? But we have to realize that it's not always going to be immediate, and that much of the effects that we are seeking to be the cause for, we may never see. So we have to be working for a vision that might be out of reach to us. But as we hold the vision, as we keep going back to it, no matter what comes our direction, we go back to the vision, we become the seeds. We become the mycelial network underneath the surface that's growing, that's building, that's becoming. And eventually, the new effect will emerge. We get to practice this in our own lives, whether it's through our spiritual practice, through the little changes we feel we need to make for ourselves, realizing that shifting a thought today can change a belief tomorrow, can change a pattern next week, can change an experience a year from now. We can practice in our own lives, with our own well-being, with our own dreams, but then realize that the lives that we are living are also part of a greater feedback loop that is creating a world beyond us. And to be in the awareness of cause and effect is to notice when that feedback loop, when that cause-effect relationship closes. Because when we get to that little moment where we see cause and effect come back together, that's where we see miracles. That's where we see spirit at work. That's where we see there's something more unfolding here. But in a world of tweets and sound bites and all the other things, we get everything in little clips. We're seeing a lot of the world out of context. We have to start to fill in the blanks and create a new context. And realize that this law of cause and effect, this law of circulation, these spiritual powers that are at work in the world through the one mind, activating through absolutely everything, are creating everything through this repetitious cause and effect. And it's only when we can step out of our ego, right? When we can step out of our individual perspective, when we can step out of our individual story, and through spiritual practice, meditation, prayer, and other practices, drop into this idea that there is something greater at work here, it allows us to zoom out and to maybe start to see and perceive those greater cause and effect arcs that are at work in the world, and then see how we can then play and participate with them in a new way. Take a deep breath in. And let it go. Deep breath in. Let go. Breathe again. Let's anchor this in some prayer. Lauren, if you would play with me. Let us just breathe ever deeper into this moment of now. And as we breathe, each one of us, I remind us to remember that we are being breathed by something greater than ourselves. That what I know is that there is one life, one infinite presence, one seamless being that is living and breathing in, through, and as everyone, everything, everywhen, everywhere, all the time, nothing left out, all of it part of the one. An infinite oneness that holds, that pervades, that fills, that participates absolutely everything. No matter what I see, no matter what I feel, no matter what I hear, no matter what is playing out in this illusion of reality, I remember that below the surface level of all existence, there is only one. And that one is rising, that one is manifesting, that one is evolving, that one is becoming in, through, and as each and every person in this room, as each and every person in this nation, as each and every person and being and experience on this planet. So let us realize that in, through, and as all that is, these great powers of the universe, the law of cause and effect, the law of circulation, the law of growth, the law of love, the law of possibility, are all at work here. And it might look like a meandering path. We might look like we are getting further and further away from the truth. It might look like we are getting further and further away from oneness. But maybe this is the last arc on the labyrinth, and we are coming around to center, to this point of awakening where we begin to remember who we are. What if we looked at the world as if everyone and everything that comes our way was handed to us by the one life as an invitation for us to become something more than we've ever been before? Let us remember that what we are seeing, what we are experiencing around us, are the effects of causes that came before us. But let us remember that right here, right now, each one of us can choose to be a new cause. We can choose to be a new beginning. We can choose to be the start of a new story, so that each one of us as a new cause, we are the ripples that affect out into the world and become the new way, that become the healing, that become the possibility, that become the coming back together. Let us breathe and open our hearts and minds so that perhaps today a spark of awareness begins to wake within each one of us, so that we become the one, each one of us, who is capable of seeing the law of cause and effect at work, who is capable of living with love without fear, who is capable of holding a vision stronger than the stories that are unfolding in front of us. Can we lift our minds and give our attention, the wholeness of our focus, to building, to participating, to becoming, to activating the healing, the world that works for everyone, the peace that we want to see? Let it be the activity of our lives, this bringing about of a world that works for everyone. Even if we never see it in our lifetimes, let every breath and every step we take be working towards the activation of this highest possibility. Let us give our lives to a dream of a world that works. And from that place, let us breathe in and let it go. Another deep breath. Let it go. Say with me, and so it is.